Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 3 of Indecisive Cinema with myself, Carlos Hernandez, and the man of the hour, Jeremy Knight.
Hello, everybody.
I am a film historian, filmmaker of old, and now just sitting here giving Jeremy some background information on all the movies he talks about. And Jeremy, give him a little bit more about your elusive career.
Well, I'm a video editor and a local cinematographer. I work in lighting and stuff like that and film down here in Houston, Texas. And I do like film and corporate work. I'll shoot weddings and stuff like that as well. Anything to pay the bills. And I like talking about movies, so that's why both of us are here. And my phone is not on silent yet. I'm breaking all the rules of the podcast.
And he has a good Doritos commercial. Vote for it at Doritos.com.
If you're listening to this podcast, you should. I don't know whether it's on iTunes or this podcast is originally posted on my website, which is jeremymknight.com. All of my commercial stuff, and you feel free to go and critique all my work on my website. It's all there. And then that is there's a Doritos podcast on there where you get to see my bare ass.
It's good.
And it's interesting. So,
and we are on iTunes. You can get us on iTunes. It's free.
Feel free to go up there and comment because we need comments. We want people to listen to this. Obviously, if you're the one listening to this, you're probably the only person. And I hope not, but I think it's most likely at this point.
Well, here's a little story. I hyped this as much as I could. I went to Dallas 2 weekends ago and met a few people there, and all I did was talk about our website. And in New York, I told everybody
to talk of the
town. About our website. So hopefully there are some comments on the bottom this week. Do you check every week?
Yeah, I mean,
that's good. I mean, so we can have something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I check my website all the time.
Good.
So,
good.
Like a good person should. Not that there's any
notifications. Not even jokey comments. People
no. I wish.
Like this podcast sucks. Hey,
one day we'll be the most famous in the world, but
amen.
That day is not today quite yet. But yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. We got a lot of movies lined up, and we're getting to the end of the year, so I'm going to go over my top 10 list.
Yeah.
Do you have 10? Did you pick out 10?
I did. Believe it or not, I actually
Carlos
saw
Hernandez
10 of these movies on this top 10 list.
So we both got top 10s. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them will be the same. At least, the ones you've seen that are on my list, I think you'll like most of the stuff there. You listeners, it's a different story for you guys. Feel free to let us know what you think in the comments below. But so we're gonna do our top 10s. I don't have a full bottom 10 list. I don't go see bad movies or movies that I have no interest in seeing, and so I didn't see 10 movies that I hated this year. I saw a couple though. We'll talk about those, and then we're going to get into the interview and all the news around that movie that came out on demand this week, and the interview with James Franco and
Seth Rogen,
and so we're going to talk about that, and then. Frank will be another movie that I watched last night, actually, or this morning at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And Frank's a little small movie that we're going to discuss. And then Blue Ruin is another one that's on Netflix. It's a small movie that came out this year. That'll be next on our list. And then today's director of the week is Alexander Payne. We're going to talk about his career and what our thoughts are on the films he's made, specifically Election, and we'll probably spend some more time on The Descendants as well, because Carlos just saw that. Yeah. So, then we'll do our Netflix picks and talk about some television, but we're going to be pretty brief on that today because I think we got a lot of stuff planned. So that is what it looks like, and we'll start out with our top 10s. I'll let you go first if you want.
Oh, okay. So I was looking at the top 10 list they had, and looking at all of them. Like I said, I don't go to the movies that much. I have 2 children, so if I go to a movie, it's to see kid movies, even though a couple of those are on my list. But I think out of all the movies I've seen this year, the number 1 film on my list would be Gone Girl.
Start with his number 1. I'm not going to do that.
But. I always start with number 1 because the rest of everything falls down from there. But okay. but we've discussed it already. David Fincher, very funny, dark film. Ben Affleck, got me ready for Batman next year. Actually, I'm excited to see that now. Wait, what's the girl's name again?
Going totally blank.
The new girl.
I did this last week too.
Yeah, right. And she's such a great actress.
Pike.
Yes,
is fantastic, and she should win Best Actress this year.
If they nominate her, she's definitely going to get it.
I mean, there's a lot of good performances this year by both categories and supporting actor. There's a lot of really great performances this year. But I still think she's the contender, the main contender for Best Actress. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a great film from David Fincher.
What's on your list?
Is it? That's your number one.
That's my number one.
Go ahead and do your whole list.
You want to do all this? All right.
Yeah,
so number two was we were talking about this, and I actually saw it on cable because it's on cable. But Jodorowsky's Dune.
It's a hard word.
I know. I hate pronouncing his name. I also saw his when I worked at the Whitney. He had a western. Keanu Reeves, not Keanu Reeves. River Phoenix was in it. That's how.
Yeah.
And Val Kilmer. He filmed it a long time, but Dune, it's a documentary, as you know, and he was someone who he wanted to remake Dune. Of course, he's an art house, also artist, so he's not like no one's going to line up and give him Dune to do.
But $40 million for.
But some of his concepts were beautiful. They were amazing, and I mean, like I said, I love artists. I always latch on to artists. I'm an artist myself, and he's just really, really good. Some of those ideas. I mean, David Lynch directed Dune, so imagine that. It's like Lynch to the 10th power, the nth power.
Yeah.
Really, really good film.
It's documentary. I haven't seen it.
You have.
No,
you have not.
Mm-mm. Where did you saw it on cable?
Yeah, they actually gave it on Epix about a couple of weeks ago.
That is interesting.
Yeah, the movie came out earlier this year. Yeah.
That is nice. Beautiful thing. The internet and cable nowadays. You can just catch stuff all the time. It's fantastic.
The next is, I know everyone's going to laugh because there's other films there that he would probably have higher on his list. But out of all the movies that I have seen that are on the top 10 list or on other lists, The Fault of Our Stars, believe it or not, I'm not into chick flicks at all. I saw it with my girlfriend.
I'm not going to judge on that one.
Yeah, no, but
most people liked it. I think it got like an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's a pretty well liked movie.
Yeah, and
I haven't seen that either.
Like my Netflix pick, basically revolves around a Salinger type author who the lead actress is in love with, and then the guy
Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, which he loves from
another film
Descendants.
We're going to talk about today.
And really good story. And she's dying. She has cancer, and the guy that she falls in love with, she gets him onto it, and he just goes above and beyond to hook it up, this meeting between them. And William Dafoe plays this Salinger-esque author, and it's just really damn good. I mean, she's a great actress, this girl.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Did she get nominated for anything yet? No, right? Or
Descendants, yeah.
That's right.
I believe she got nominated for supporting actor for that.
And she was good at it. I'm going to talk about it later, yeah.
She's one of the best young actors, other than like Jennifer Lawrence, I'd say. She's not getting as many big roles like they tried with Divergent. I just don't think they're trying to make her like Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, like Jennifer Lawrence.
But I don't think she's got the star power that Jennifer Lawrence is going to have.
Divergent. And Insurgent's out coming soon.
Whatever.
But William Dafoe too. William Dafoe is always a great actor. I mean, we've mentioned him before, and I can name 10 movies that that should be on everyone's top 10 with him. He was just really good. It's like funny because no redeeming value in his character, and even at the end, you want to beat his ass, but it's good. It's like when you see what he says there at the end, it's really, really well done. And I like Fault of Our Stars. I mean, like for a chick flick, it was really, really well done. And,
yeah.
Let's see. I could go through again my favorite top 10 normal film, Guardians of the Galaxy. My favorite superhero film of the year, and only because comic book superhero films, it was really well done. Followed the comic book closely. Brian Michael Bendis' Guardians of the Galaxy stories. Chris Pratt, who we've talked about before.
It's just a godsend.
Yeah, he's almost in everything this year. He's also on another one of the movies on my list. But
on Parks and Rec, I mean, he's one of the most likable people in Hollywood.
And it's funny, he's like, he started out in Parks and Rec like a Henry Winkler on Happy Days. He was just one character. They had him in there for one episode, and he took off. Everyone loved him, and look at him now. I mean, he's like...
What a career that wouldn't have happened if it was
exactly. So he was in one episode, audience liked him, they brought him back, and now he's like being nominated for stuff.
Absolutely.
So let's see after that, and there's a movie on Jeremy's list, but I put it up there because
looking at him.
Well, I'm just saying, they don't know what number on your list, but anyway, 22 Jump Street. I love 21 Jump Street. It was one of my favorite films. Again, Jeremy turned me on. I didn't really want to see that.
I turned him
you
on.
Turned me.
That I did.
You got me onto that flick, and I loved it. 22 Jump Street is just, and I think we discussed this before. The great thing about the movie is that it makes fun of itself more than anyone else. Absolutely. I mean, I think it laughs at itself more than we laugh. And then
those two have two movies, not two on my list, but one that's on my. I mean, that's on my list, and then Lego Movie as well. Christopher Miller, Phil Lord, and Christopher Miller are my two favorite comedy directors.
Right, yeah, right now, and that he just went into my number 6 film, Lego Movie. Let me tell you something. I saw it with my kids. We got a free screening back in February of the year.
I laughed more than the kids in the
None of the kids were laughing, and the adults were laughing their ass off. And I thought that was funny because I was like,
I think it's fun to look at for sure.
Yeah,
but it's,
definitely.
I don't think the kids will enjoy it as nearly as much as the adults.
Yeah, I mean, and you can watch it over and catch other things, which is good. I've seen it
really
twice.
Smart. And the cast is, I think, again, Chris Pratt.
He was great in it. Will Arnett as Batman.
Will Arnett, yeah.
Elizabeth Banks as what's the girl's name?
I'm going blank.
Right, yeah, but
and then I mean, Morgan Freeman is Will Ferrell. I mean, it's a really great cast, and it's very, very funny, and definitely one of my. I mean, it's not on my list.
It's not on your
but
list.
It could easily be on my list for sure.
Definitely.
It's one of those. I bought it. It's like, I'll watch it over again. I mean, it's a very, very funny movie.
So my number 7 is, and I said, like I said, there's a couple of superhero films on my list, but this was not like Guardians of the Galaxy, which followed the comic book, which is fun, Star Wars-esque, or the other one, which I won't mention its name. But Captain America was a very serious film and a very political film. The fact that Robert Redford was in it was really good to me.
Yes.
If you watch, it's like a 1980s trailer of Captain America. Like they cut all these different type of trailers, but it's the posters.
It's like an old school spy movie.
Yeah, it's like the posters, the one that started with the 70s Cap. Like if that movie was in the 70s, that's what it felt like to me. It felt like like Robert Redford's 3 Days to the Condor. It felt almost like the Parallax View. It was a grown-up superhero film, and it wasn't made for kids. I know that sounds crazy for me to say. But Captain America is more adult. A lot of
just because of the thematic elements behind everything.
Yeah,
no 13-year-old kid's gonna follow all the politics. I mean, you might understand it, but if you were to explain it to them, they can comprehend that. But it's not the same. It's not as obvious to a child or a kid, for that matter.
So I'm really looking forward to Part 3, Civil War, but I won't get into that yet.
It's one of the best Marvel movies I've seen.
Yeah,
so far.
and that's good. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I that and Guardians I think are two of my favorites so far, and the Avengers, of course. I mean, I was really impressed with that movie. We saw it together. It's very good. That was number 7.
That was let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was 7, yeah.
Cool.
So number 8, and I know he's gonna laugh because he didn't want to see it, but out of the rest of the movies that were on the list that I have seen, Maleficent was well done. The way it was shot. What I liked about
gorgeous movie, yeah. I've seen it just from the trailer, and it was playing at Fry's the other day when I was shopping there.
Oh yeah, and what's good is the twist. Like I said, when I saw the original Sleeping Beauty, and the twist. And again, I don't know if you want me to do spoilers for movies, only TV.
Nah, let's not do spoilers.
So no spoilers, but the twist at the end you really will like. I'll be honest, as a father, like I said, ever since I became a father, I became more girly and cry at movies. And that message at the end.
Ain't nothing wrong with crying during movies. Ain't
nothing
wrong with crying.
But I cried at the end of Maleficent. It's a very great. I mean, I don't say great. It's a very good movie, and like I said, even and if you're into that, it's like I mean, I've talked about I hate Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson, and I know everyone's gasping. I hope this gets people listening. Like, oh shit, somebody said they hate Lord of the Rings.
No.
Let's go after these guys.
I'm okay with The Hobbit. I still like it, but man, don't hate on my franchise.
So what I'm saying is that if you're into that, then the battle in the beginning, the battle toward the end, really nice and wide scope. The way the cameras pan across. I mean, I know it's all special effects now, but it was really well done, and I like that about Maleficent. So the next movie I would put, because if you see the way the movies fall on the list, like I said, it just goes down from there. Out of the 3 movies, X-Men Days of Future Past, I'll add that. And I'll say this. Again,
that's not on my list.
Out of the 4 superhero films on my list, that one should be number 3 after, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy Cap. But it did something that I like, almost like The Watchmen, where, The Watchmen, one of the greatest graphic novels of all time. The ending that Zack Snyder made in The Watchmen was 10 times better than anything that Alan Moore could have produced.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But it's true, and I love Alan Moore.
It's much better on film for sure than you could do with the actual ending.
And the fact that Zack Snyder made characters more compelling or redeeming, I thought that was great. The death. Anyway, the death of one of the characters at the end of the film. Yeah, the Watchmen.
Yeah, you can spoil Watchmen.
All right, so the death of Rorschach at the end of the movie, and the way Night Owl reacts. I mean, in the book, Night Owl is such a pussy. He's such an anti-hero that you hate him toward the end of the movie. I mean, in the book. But in the movie, at least you start to feel for Night Owl, and you start to see how he's actually changed, where in the book you don't get that. In X-Men Days of Future Past, like I said, a lot of action, but I mean, just to play around with the whole, like my Back to the Future 2 theory, and I do have a good one of that. Going back to see things that we did before and how a little bit changes. And then, of course, the big reveal ending, which I won't reveal, but how everything gets fixed and the end of the movie is so uplifting. And again, I cried only because, I love, action movies, some people can love them, some people can hate them. But what they end up doing at the end, Bryan Singer, welcome back. And he actually brought everything full circle, and I like that about it. Again, watching Wolverine, go berserk is always good. But the end of the movie with the nice little happy ending and, again, another way, almost like J.J. Abrams did with Star Trek, revitalizing a franchise. It was very well done.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not on my list or on my
No, of course.
But it's very good. I saw it. It's been so long. I feel like I haven't seen it since it was in theaters.
What, the X-Men?
Yeah, I love the cast. I mean, Michael Fassbender, who we're going to talk about later with Frank.
That's right.
I love him so much. I think he's one of the best actors working right now. He's very talented. Same with James McAvoy. I think.
That's right.
That's a cast
we don't talk about a lot. But,
what a terrific cast, though, in that movie. And then Evan Peters actually is Quicksilver.
I love him in this movie, and I get mad because when we see Avengers next year, Quicksilver's in that too, but he's played by someone else,
which is bizarre. I love Evan Peters though. American Horror Story.
And,
he's a
terrific
awesome.
actor. He's fucking great.
He's really good as Quicksilver.
I can't wait to see him as Quicksilver. But did you know why that happened?
No, go for it.
Here's a bunch of superhero nerd junk for you, but as you know, Marvel Studios is now trying to get back characters that they sold out to major companies like Sony and 20th Century Fox. Right now, luckily, Sony is giving us Spider-Man, a different Spider-Man. As you heard, Andrew Garfield was fired as Spider-Man because of his controversial outspokenness.
I totally didn't know that.
You didn't hear this? Yeah, he got fired. He was talking shit again. Well, I don't know if you heard last year when he started talking about Spider-Man should be gay and things like that. And I know that, it's not about, none of us are homophobic here. But they were like, why are you doing that? That's stupid. Don't do that. And it made the studio seem like they were homophobic because, he knew that would happen. But what's his name? You know him, Percy Jackson, the kid who plays Percy Jackson.
Oh, from Perks.
And from Perks of a Wildflower.
I'm going to.
Let's go to the videotape. We're going to get his name. I don't want to diss him because he's a good actor.
Logan
Lerman has just been picked to play Spider-Man in Marvel Studios.
That's a good pick.
Yeah,
I did love Andrew Garfield though. I'm not a huge fan of the movies, but I like
him too. Yeah, if you ever saw Red, what was it called? The original thing he got picked for, Red, was it the Red Wolf or?
I don't know.
Red Part 1, Red Riding, or Riding. Yeah, the English series. The reason why he was picked as Spider-Man, he was like.
I think Social Network. I think he's outstanding.
He's great in that too. But that's what got him the gig by David Fincher's Red Riding, which was an English film that came out and was in 3 parts, one in the 70s, one in the 80s, one in the 90s, and it's really good about a serial killer. But he played the young reporter there. But regardless, he was let go, and Logan now is going to be playing Spider-Man for Captain America 3 Civil War.
People like him. I think that's a solid pick for Spider-Man.
And here goes my long story short. What happened was 20th Century Fox refuses to give up their characters.
Yeah.
So what they're doing, that's what happened with Fantastic Four, why everybody hates the casting of Fantastic Four. They just quickly grabbed a whole bunch of people and said, hey, let's get it in production, pre-production. Now we don't have to give up Fantastic Four back to Marvel. And they're doing the same thing with X-Men, of course.
It's kind of like the old Fantastic Four movie when they put that together and had Roger Corman.
Roger Corman had the same thing. He lost his license. That's how these guys got it. But the bottom line is that. So they cast this kid from American Horror Story as Quicksilver, and he's fucking awesome. He actually steals the movie.
Yeah, he does.
But they did it on purpose. They did it as a fuck you to Marvel, to Joss Whedon, to say, we now cast this kid. You either have to cast him in your movie or your movie becomes different. It shows how 20th Century Fox says this is our franchise, and Marvel, you got yours, and that's the big thing behind why other. When I keep in fact, we're not saying his name. What's his real name? American Horror Story.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters. So that's why they chose Evan Peters to be in, and now everyone loves him, and he's actually going to be in the next X-Men movie.
At least we'll have him in American Horror Story.
Yeah, no, and so that's why the whole hubbub about X-Men and the Quicksilvers, and why you loved X-Men because he was in it. And there goes my little news in the background.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of news today other than the interview, so I'm okay with that.
That's what I'm here for.
That's your input for
my
the day.
Input for the day for news. So I got two more movies. One I think you hated, but I'm not sure because I think we talked about it once. And then the last superhero movie on the list, which actually should be my top 10, but actually bottom 1. Million Ways to Die in the West. I saw it.
Wow.
Again, cheese. I mean, it was cheese. I laughed at a lot of the jokes. As I watched, I said, "Why don't you just do Ted 2?" And luckily, Ted 2 is coming out. But
I'd rather see that.
Yeah, you like Ted, right?
I like Ted. It's fine.
Yeah, Ted was really good.
I'd much rather see it than Million Ways to Die.
Oh yeah, that was, and it was bad. It was cheesy, but it was funny. And I'll be honest, I slept through like the last quarter of it, then woke up in the big ending scene. But it was. I mean, it's good to see Seth MacFarlane play himself. I mean, all these other movies.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, his voice. He always plays.
Yeah, he's a talented person.
He is. He's fucking. Really
he's not a great director though.
No, not at all. And like I said, Million Ways Eyes was. I was like, I understand why it disappeared. And then the last movie on this one, because like I said, I saw it, but there was, and I think we talked about it, Spider-Man 2, and while Emma Stone, I love Emma Stone.
Yes, she's adorable.
She is, and her Gwen Stacy was genius. That last scene at the end, again, we can't give out spoilers. But at the end of the movie, I mean, she's more compelling. Like in that last shot, it's just that the look, the one little sound you hear. I mean, again, I can't give away things, but that's what I mean. And then Andrew Garfield's reaction. I mean, really, really good. I mean, granted, Spider-Man ruined continuity already, but to follow the Gwen Stacy storyline, I think was really good. They did a good job. And I just put it because, like I said, of all the movies that I seen, that was like the last one that I would put at the bottom of the list. Again, like I said, now we already know Spider-Man. It's not really going to be Spider-Man 3. It'll just be Spider-Man in another movie. But Andrew Garfield is no longer Spider-Man. Emma Stone will no longer be Gwen Stacy. So, but I'm interested in seeing who they got for Mary Jane in Captain America. They're going to have to pick a new actress. I think Emma Stone could just dye her hair red and she'd be Mary Jane. That'd be cool, right? I'd follow that. So that is my semi-wannabe top 10 for 2014.
Nice.
Jeremy, what you got on
my list isn't very similar, but there's some picks on there that I liked. But so I just want to clarify. I saw a lot of the big releases this year.
Yeah, you did.
I did miss two really that I should have totally seen. Yeah. Birdman, I missed Birdman.
I want to see Birdman.
And like I feel ashamed making a top 10 without it because it's been on a lot of people's lists as number one for some people. So I really want to see Birdman. I haven't seen it yet. If I had made this list, it would probably have been on it. It looks like a great movie. We'll see. Definitely. And then I did miss Boyhood as well. We actually got that came to Houston, but I just because it was shot in Houston. For a lot of it, we definitely got a lot of screenings here. I never had 3 hours to go watch it.
That's right.
I love Linklater though. I mean, I really do.
No, of course, she's done some of the greatest films,
especially lately. I think he's on a roll. I don't know. So take that into factor. I have not seen those movies.
But you're saying your reason why you didn't see it is because of the hours.
No, not necessarily. Well, that's part of it. I mean, it's a long movie. I just there's no excuse for why I didn't see it.
I was just saying,
I have seen a lot of movies this year though, so I'm going to give myself some credit here. I've watched a lot of stuff. So yeah, my list though, and I have a bunch of honorable mentions too. I wanted to make this 10. It's actually 11, kind of. But my honorable mentions, I've got a couple of them. Cheap Thrills was one that I liked a lot. That it was a small movie that came out this year. I think it went like immediately to streaming. Maybe it might have in LA. It might have been played somewhere. The Rover was one that we saw together. I liked a lot. It's by David Michaud. Michaud. I don't know how you pronounce that. My Michaud is probably correct. Correct. I don't know. And that's an Australian film I liked a lot. And then Planet of the Apes, which I thought was an outstanding action film. Very, very good. I liked the first one a lot, but this is a huge improvement from the first one even. So I really like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then Lego Movie, which you talked about. I love Lego Movie. Big Bad Wolves, which I mentioned is like my Netflix pick. I think in the first week, first podcast, and then which is very, very good. It's on Netflix. And then Blue Ruin, which we're going to talk briefly about later. That's honorable mention, and then A Field in England, which is a very good film. It kind of came out in 2013, but we didn't get it. It was a UK film that it came out early this year, so I'm going to count it, even though technically it was last year. And it's by Ben Wheatley, who I want to talk about next week. We'll see. But Ben Wheatley is one of my favorite working directors. So those are my honorable mentions. I got, like I said, this was a genuinely difficult year. Yeah. My top 5 were pretty much locked by the time I started making my list. But the rest of them, though, I mean, a lot of these honorable mentions. Blue Ruin, I watched recently, just blew me away. Yeah. So there's a lot of really good movies. I didn't put it in there just because I need some time to let that sink. Yeah. Because so I believe there's some movies that could easily be on this list. And so my 10, I'll start with 10. 22 Jump Street and Frank get a tie for my 10th spot on my list. So it's technically 11, but I really, these are two of the funniest films of the year, I think. Aside from one other pick that's a little higher up, but Frank is just a terrific little movie with Michael Fassbender. He wears a head the entire movie, and it's brilliant. And then 22 Jump Street, I think we talked about already. I'm a huge fan of the series. They could make every one of them that's in the credits of this movie. Every Jump Street movie that they discuss, I would watch and I would love. I'm a huge fan of that franchise. Keep them coming. For the Lord, Christopher Miller, keep making movies. I'm loving you guys. And then my number 9 is Nightcrawler with Gyllenhaal, which is a very strange, dark movie, but not like a dark in like a violent way. A dark in like a creepy, just like there's something genuinely wrong with this guy. It's a very, very well shot movie. Terrific. He should get nominated. Gyllenhaal better get nominated for this. If he doesn't, I'm not going to watch the Oscars. I'm saying that now. I said it when I walked out. I'm going to say it again.
He wasn't Golden Globe, was he?
Oh, I don't know. No. Well, I think he did. I think he did for Golden Globe. Okay, we were going to talk about that. I lied. We're not going to talk about that. Carlos went to New York, and those are no longer relevant. So, I'm not going to talk about the Golden Globes until it happens. It happens. Talk about what wins. Yeah, but I think he got a nomination though for it. It's a really it's unlike anything you've seen. It's a very original film. Definitely a fun movie. And then I watched this last week. Actually, it's The Babadook is number 8. Babadook. It's very good. It's a Australian horror film, and it's by first time director. I think it's like Stephanie. Let me see. The Babadook.
Female?
Yes, and she's a terrific director. It's one of the best directed films of the year. Jennifer Kent. Stephanie is. I don't know where I got that from. Jennifer Kent it's her debut feature. I think she wrote it as well. Yes, she's director and writer of this movie. It's about a mother and her troubled child. And there's a little bit of like we need to talk about Kevin in it, and a little bit of a little bit of Rosemary's Baby even, and like Omen for sure. Like a lot of it's a terrific, genuinely disturbing film, but not in a subtle way, like in a throwback 70s horror style.
Which is most of the movies you named, but I'm saying, is that not a big reveal, all the movies you're naming?
No, it's not. Okay. Because there's a lot more to it. I mean, it's the movie's about that relationship between her and her child, and there's there's this creature. Basically, the premise of the film is this. We're going to dedicate some time on the podcast to this. I'm just going to talk about it now.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Basically, it's a mother and her troubled child. They're both dealing with this death of their mother, or of the father and her husband from like 7 years prior. That happens in the opening of the film. And so they're both struggling with that. He's troubled because he doesn't have a father to kind of help him grow up, properly, and he's really difficult. Very similar to like when you talk about Kevin, it's a lot of that in the earlier half, and just how that having a difficult child impacts your relationship with others, and how it just makes it hard to have time. I mean, it's hard enough having a child to begin with. I don't have one, but you do. But having a really troubled, awful child that's just obnoxious and loud and really difficult is a hard thing, and this movie does that really well. It's a great character study of this mom, and there's depression involved, and it's just a terrific character piece. And so we set that up. We have these really genuinely real people that are genuinely real. No, these real characters though that we like, and even though he's obnoxious, he's still there's something about him you love. He's endearing, and so when the horror starts, basically she goes to read him a bedtime story one night and finds this book on the shelf called The Babadook, or Mr. Babadook, I think is what it's called. And it's this red book with this awful cover, and it's one of those like, who would ever? Why would this ever be on a child's shelf? But it just kind of showed up. You don't know how it got there. Yeah. And so she starts reading it, and it's in the trailer. It's the trailer is terrifying. I mean, I think that it's a pop-up book, and it talks about this character, the Babadook, and it's horrifying. I think, and it's that kind of sets up the whole premise for the film. And so she's dealing with all this difficult child while also dealing with whether or not she's going crazy over this monster, and it's just an outstanding horror film. And part of it is there's absolutely no actual jump scares with musical cues in the film.
Musical cues.
But there's really no like loud noises or any kind of. It's all very subtle, and it's brilliant. I think it's one of the best horror films I've seen in a long time. Other than like Your Next would be one, but in terms of like straight horror, this and The Conjuring I think are two. It's much better though than The Conjuring even, which I like The Conjuring a lot.
Yeah, I love The Conjuring.
So yeah, Babadook is very good, and it's a small movie that a lot of people. It's got like a really high. It had like a 98% Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody loved it whenever I saw it at least, and highly recommend it for sure. And then moving on to my list, number 7 is Gone Girl, which was your number 1. I think now I haven't seen it twice. I really am waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray so I can see it again. It's just a terrific film from David Fincher, and it's not unexpected. Of course, he made another good movie, and I think it's not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. It's great. And then number 6 is Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal again. He gives an equally it's not on the same level of Nightcrawler, but a very, very terrific performance. It's about a guy who kind of going through the motions of life, and then one day a coworker recommends a film for him to watch, and he watches it and finds somebody who looks like him, and that kind of sets up your premise. And it's by the guy who did Prisoners last year, Denis Villeneuve. I don't. That's not how you pronounce it, but and I think it's up there with Prisoners just in terms of the intensity and just how engaging it is. I think it's a lot. It's like half the length of Prisoners too.
And it was also this movie wasn't released like Prisoners.
No.
Prisoners was a big summer film.
Yeah, everybody that's seen it for the most part likes it. It's a confusing film. There's like it's one that I'd say would require 2 viewings to like fully understand. I'm dumb though, so whatever. You can say it's not that confusing. Feel free to do that, but it's a difficult film. But I feel like it's so engaging through the end. It's really an outstanding.
So
film.
Would you consider it? What type of film? What would you peg it into a genre?
Thriller. Like it's a dark thriller. I mean, thriller drama. And it's
no sci-fi elements.
Just watch it.
Okay, no, that's not decent.
Yeah, if you watch it. Nah, it's not a spoiler. Just go see the movie. It's a really dark thriller, a psychological thriller.
Yeah, psychological.
Enemies. It's very, very good. And then number 5 is getting in my top 5. Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson. I think we talked about this briefly because we mentioned Wes Anderson's one of my favorite directors. Grand Budapest is just a great piece of work. I think it's not my favorite of his films, but I've seen it about 3 or 4 times now. Just this year. I mean, it came out pretty early, and so I've had the chance. I've got it on Blu-ray, and I've seen it a couple times now. And it gets darker and more like sadder the more you watch it. And I think there's like, have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I'm still watching.
Every time I watch it though, it just there's a melancholia to it that I think is really terrific. It's very mature, but it's subtle the way that he kind of some of the lines that he drops. Frank does this as well, which I really like. It's a very funny film, but with this underlining tone of kind of depression. I think it's funny. It's delightful. Ralph Fiennes is adorable in this movie. Some people will say he's never been funnier. I think in Bruges, I think he's hilarious in Bruges, but yeah, Grand Budapest is terrific. And then number 4 is The Raid 2, which is
I love the
freaking fantastic.
Yeah, Raid 1 was good. Raid 2.
Raid 1 is outstanding,
Yeah.
and Raid 2 takes the Raid 1 is like a video game. It's if you've seen Dread, it's the same premise as Dread. There's arguments over which one came out first, and I'm not going to get into that. But Raid 2 is a better movie. Let's be honest.
Yes.
I do like Dread though, but Raid 2 is Raid 1 is.
I like Dread because it's like Raid.
Yeah, right. It's very simple, but it's the choreography and the camera work for the how they film the action, and it doesn't hold anything back, and it's one of the more violent films you'll see all year.
Yeah.
Raid 1 and Raid 2. I mean, Raid 2
Raid 2.
Raid 1 was made for like $1 million. It was made for chump change
in
terms
Korean
of Hollywood money. Yeah. I think it's Philippines. I don't know.
That's right,
I think it's Philippines.
Yeah, Philippines.
I could be wrong, but and I could look that up. But yeah, Raid 2 though, just like you give them like a $20 million budget or 30, it might be 30, but it's not like $100 million film.
Yeah,
but you give them the budget though, and he comes and just gives us this outstanding.
Yeah, stylized. I think a lot of stuff was worked on better.
Oh man,
story was good.
Like bigger scope, just in terms of like you actually have more of a story in this film. It's kind of a Godfather type story. It's really good.
Raid 2 is really good.
Yes,
no doubt.
both of them are great, but there's a prison sequence in this movie in the mud though that I think is one of the best action sequences I've seen in a long time. It's really breathtaking. I think. So yeah, the Raid 2, and it really like any of these in my top 4. I feel like I could flip them around. The Raid 2 and the next one I'm going to talk about. Just great movies. We got some really good stuff this year. And then so I'll move on to number 3, Whiplash.
We talk about that a lot.
It's got
a good review. It's got a great review.
I think it's the best movie of the year. It's not my favorite, but it could easily be number 1 on my list. This was a movie that it was reviewed very well, so I expect I went and saw it because it was only in theaters for 1 week here at least. 1 week. I don't understand that. And I saw it, and I want to see it again so badly because I was so impressed by this movie, by the performances, Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, and just the pacing of it. It's one of the best edited films of the year. It's really tight, and like lots of just really interesting choices of shots for like the musical stuff in the film, like close-ups of different like valves and things on instruments, and lots of just, it's kind of claustrophobic and just really, really intense, and it's an outstanding film. I think it's as close to a perfect movie I think as you can get in terms of what the genre it's going for. There's a sequence with a car that I don't like that much, but outside of that, I think it's got one of the best ending sequences to a movie this year. It gives me chills just talking about it. It's fantastic, and I think everybody agrees. Maybe not everybody likes it as much as I do, but I think it's a well-loved movie, and I think of all the movies this year, at least go see Whiplash.
Well, it's interesting that you said it was only 1 week here in Houston.
And
when I went to New York, it was everywhere. I mean, everybody was loving it. Yeah, so. And
I mean, it just the music, and they get the music right. The jazz. Miles Teller's in a jazz band for one of the most prestigious schools in the country, ran by J.K. Simmons, and he's really good at drumming. And Miles Teller does all his own drumming in the movie, and. I think you'll see. I really hope both of them get nominated. I don't think Miles Teller might not, but I would really like for him to. J.K. Simmons definitely will for supporting, because there's not as many good supporting actor roles this year. I think he could win. We'll see. But yeah, it's a terrific movie. And then number 2 is Interstellar, which you haven't seen, although somebody spoiled some of it for you, which is
pissed me off.
Horribly frustrating, even though it came out a month ago or so. But I think Interstellar is I've never sat through a science fiction film that I felt completely satisfied on an emotional and on a visual and a scope level. People said Gravity was like this like immersive, huge, but Interstellar was the one for me that was like, this is amazing. I feel like you walk out of that theater feeling just completely refreshed by how big the movie is. I mean, it really there's not a bigger film this year, I feel like, and it handles the characters. I mean, obviously we could argue about the science of the film, but I really think it accomplishes so much on an emotional level. It's a great script, I think, and just some terrific performances by Matthew McConaughey and just everybody in it. There's a great cameo by Casey Affleck, who's one of my favorite people that's not in enough movies. And
he's in it. I got you.
You know, it's a great film, and I just think Christopher Nolan. I mean, we can go on about that. We discussed him when we did our top directors from the first podcast, but this is his. It's not his best. I think Inception is his best movie.
Definitely.
But it's up there with his best stuff.
Yeah. I'm dying to see it.
And it's really great. And so then we'll get to my number one movie of the year. I'm so excited to talk about this movie.
I'm like, what is it? Because we've been talking. I'm
so excited about this movie. It's so good. It's The Guest with Dan Stevens, directed by Adam Weingart, who did one of my favorites of last year. You're Next.
Yeah.
It's the most fun I've had in the theater. I saw it twice. It made very little money. It was only in theaters for a week, but I saw it twice while it was there. I think I contributed. I think I said this. It's a joke. It's a bad joke, but like I feel like I contributed to a percentage of what that movie made in theaters. A lot of people liked it in L.A. That it was a hit in L.A. and New York, but it's a perfect like midnight movie. It's just one of those. It's set in Halloween, and
I got my brother-in-law turned on to it. I showed him the trailer when I went to New York. He loved it.
And it's a throwback 80s.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a straight like 80s. I mean, really, Terminator is one that is obviously an influence, and a lot just Terminator 2 in specific. But I mean, it's just it's so much fun. It's one of the funniest films of the year, I think. Just in terms of it's straight black comedy, and the movie just doesn't take itself too seriously, and it enters into ridiculousness in the second half of the movie, and it's one of those movies that like somebody will get hurt and like. There's sequences where a character will just pause and not look at the camera, but basically look at the camera and just go, like, I got to deal with this now. And it's just, it's fantastic. And Dan Stevens is wonderful. He's my new man crush, if I have to say. Of all the people working in Hollywood right now,
good-looking dude,
that's a good-looking dude. And then Mike. I'm going totally blank on her name. I think it's Micah Monroe. I don't know.
The young girl.
She's gorgeous and a very good actress. And there's some good characters. This is what I like so much about Adam Weingart, though. Like he in a movie it's silly, it's ridiculous. There's still some character stuff in there. There's enough character stuff to make us care about the people in it. And I mean, there's you get some decent. It's not. I mean, obviously, it's not a straight drama. We don't spend a lot of time. Characterizing these people, but you get enough of it though to where we have some background on the family, and they are real people and they have emotions and things like that. But then it borders on ridiculousn's for the whole entire second half, and we still kind of care, and that's terrific. It's something that a good action film does.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if I'd call it a straight action. The second half is a straight action film.
Yeah.
But oh man, it's just a blast. Everyone I've shown it to has liked it. I'm waiting for it. Comes out on Blu-ray next week.
Oh yeah.
And I will be watching it with everyone I know because I feel like it's an easier film to show somebody in comparison to like You're Next, which is that's a hard movie. That's a harder film to like go. Yeah, you gotta watch You're Next. I love it. I think You're Next is a really great movie, but. The Guest is a little more accessible, but it's still, it has a blast with itself, and it doesn't take itself. Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But man, it's a lot of fun. So that is my favorite film of the year. It's the kind of movie that I want to make one day. Oh, I hit something. It's the kind of movie that I would love to make one day, and that's kind of the reason. I'd love to make a movie like Interstellar too, but The Guest is one of those that it's low
I think
budget.
The Guest you could do first.
Exactly. It's like I can never do a movie like Whiplash. Like it's not. And so like The Guest though is something that's like this would be fun to make. And there's like references to You're Next in it.
Yeah.
Like there's a genius section where they go to a party and there's this dude that has the You're Next mask on.
Oh, does he?
But he doesn't have it on his face. He has it on top. And Dan Stevens pauses for a second and looks at it. And then keeps walking, and I was like, I just wanted to applaud. I was like, that's a way to do. It's so subtle.
Yeah.
And Your Next is written on a wall at a point in the movie as well. It's literally 2 frames. In the film. Yeah. Those are signs that the director's not taking it seriously. So I love Adam Weingart. I'm down for anything that he's got going on.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite directors that's currently making stuff. Just because I want to work with that dude. So Adam Weingart, if you're listening, and if you're ever shooting shooting in Houston, Texas, let me know, man, because you're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
You and your buddies. So yeah, that's my top 10 list. Man, that took a long time.
Oh, yeah,
we're 45 minutes.
Almost an hour into it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
We don't have a lot to talk about though outside of this. We're done with 2014. I think it's been a really, really great year for movies. I mean, not only have we had, there's a lot of smaller stuff on my list, but I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, you mentioned, X-Men, Apes. I mean, you have like some really good blockbuster films. Even some of the animated stuff, How to Train Your Dragon 2, which I haven't seen, but here's outstanding. I didn't love Big Hero 6, but you have all these big movies though that people are.
Why didn't you like Big Hero 6?
I didn't hate it. I thought it was a little formulaic. It might have been the hype. Everyone else loved it, so I just feel like I'm wrong about it.
So
I
enjoyed
take
it.
that for what you want to, but. It's fine. It's a fine kids movie. I don't like the main character that much. I think that's part of it. He's kind of an obnoxious science kid. And that was kind of frustrating. I feel like I didn't truly care.
I can see that.
I love the brother though. I love the brother in the movie. That was good. The problem is he's just kind of a brat, and so not the brother, the
young kid,
the main character, and so John was like, "Yeah, he's Japanese. That's why." I'm like, "Yeah, it's nothing to do with it." Yeah, I don't like the character.
I love Baymax
because he's Japanese. Yeah, Baymax is great. I mean, the animation is perfect. I think it's a gorgeous film. But I just think it kind of has that same Marvel third act that I'm getting real sick of. It's just when the action starts and there's just no real. We're done with the movie. The story has been told to this point. Now they just have to kill the bad guy. Then I just shut my brain off and fall asleep. So I think there's just a lot of really good small and giant movies this year, and you have a lot of people going to the movies again. But then we also have movies like Frank that I watched for $5 on Amazon today, or it was on iTunes. So you can and Babadook the same thing. I can rent these movies that I never would have been able to see in a theater. I mean, obviously I'd love to see them in theaters more so, but it's a great thing. I think we've got this is a great year for film, and there's movies I haven't even seen that I like. I mean, that I would totally put on my list. We also had some crap.
Yeah, of course.
Which is what I'll briefly talk about next. I think there's so many movies. We don't get paid to go see movies, right?
Yeah, no.
I would love that. Like I said, every week we're gonna say if you've got a radio station or the ability for somebody to go, yeah, here's $5 to go see a movie. I'll go see your movie for you and review it. But until that happens, I have to pay for every movie I go see. I have to drive to everyone. And I have to sit through them. So if it's shitty, I'm not going to go watch it. So Saving Christmas, Kurt Cameron, I'm not going to go watch. Ouija, I'm not going to go watch. There's so many movies. I'm not going to go see Blended. You saw Blended.
I did. I took my girlfriend to see the movie Blended at the $2 theater. What are you worried about?
Yeah, but and I'm certainly not going to go see Transformers 4.
Oh my God.
So
part 2 and 3?
I saw friends that are like, I saw it 4 times, man. It's not even good. I'm like, yeah, then why'd you see it 4 times? I took the same guy to go see The Guest though, and he's like, I love it. It's really good. I'm like, yeah, we should have gone and seen this 4 times rather than going to see Transformers. So I'm not going to pay to see them. So I have not seen 10 movies that I hated.
Yeah.
But of the ones I've seen, I have, other than Saving Christmas, which I already mentioned. I haven't watched that. I'm not gonna. But
I want to see it now.
I kind of do because it's the worst film of all time according to everything. And then it's Sin City 2, though. I think is the one that it's the one that I actually watched. Obviously, it's not the worst film of the year because I'm sure if I had watched, Saving Christmas or Transformers, any of those, I would hate them more. That's why I didn't see them at all. Sin City 2, though, on the other hand, was one that I was like, this could be good. The reviews weren't great, but I was like, whatever. It's like, but sitting through it, and I've mentioned this to you already, it made me question whether or not I actually liked the first movie. Because I haven't seen the first movie in a while, and I was like, did I like that? Because I don't know if I do anymore. It's one of I feel like Sin City 2 it's one of the dullest theater experience I've had in so long. I wanted to leave, not because the movie was it's not horrible. It's so not interesting. It's the characters are completely one dimensional, and and so is the cinematography of the film. It's like it's cheap and it looks terrible. I mean, Robert Rodriguez. I know you're from Austin, and you got a lot of people I know have worked with you.
Yeah.
just hopefully you're not listening. But man, you've made some better stuff. I really, really was disappointed by Sin City 2. So that would be my. It's not my worst. I'm not going to call it the worst film of the year because there are definitely worse films. But it's my. It disappointed me the most.
Yeah.
What is there anyone that you saw that you hated this year?
Oh my god. Again, like you, I mean, I have 2 kids, so I can only go see mostly kid movies. But trying to see a movie that I hate. Like I said, I know you're gonna laugh. I didn't hate Blended. I mean, I actually have a soft spot for Adam Sandler. I grew up with him on SNL. But other than that, I mean, I didn't see Sin City. I love Sin City 1. Now you're making me question what will happen if I see Sin City 2. So, I mean,
Nah.
But, yeah, I mean, what else came out? I was like, did Tarantino make a movie this year? No, he didn't.
No.
That's The Hateful Eight that comes out next year.
Yeah. If it ever gets made. I think it's getting made, but yeah.
You saw the trailer.
He's being a baby about it.
Yeah.
But,
But
yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some bad movies this year, some stinkers that I don't care to see.
Yeah.
So that's all we're gonna say about that. I rarely have a bottom 10 list, just because there's.
I agree. I rarely have a bottom 10 list.
Like if you're a critic and you have to see everything, you're gonna have one, and I totally would. It would make me hate seeing movies. There were some of the movies that have come out this year, but yeah, as of now, I'm gonna refrain from punching myself in the face for 3 hours. And so yeah, so I guess we'll move on. Those are our top 10.
But that's it, because I thought the segue was going to go from worst movie list to the next movie we're going to talk about.
Well, the next one we're talking about is The Interview.
The Interview, which is not the worst movie.
No, not at all. It's so not good. It's fine. That's my favorite film critic would say. It's fine. Dave White from movies.com. But it's totally fine. There's a lot of hype around this movie because it came out after a big hack on the production company Sony, obviously. And
Which
it was
so
we'll talk about that. I mean,
But
so this movie there was a lot of hype around this movie because Sony canceled it. So basically, last week before the film came out, a bunch of theaters basically. There was a hack on Sony, big, huge deal. It was a really bad thing, and it probably somebody's gonna get fired. Plenty of people will get fired. It's a horrible thing for that production company.
Yeah.
And they're blaming it on Korea. And Kim Jong Un, and because Sony was releasing a film called The Interview with James Franco and Seth Rogen, where they assassinate Kim Jong Un, and which I think is brilliant in terms of just what a premise. The premise. That's genius.
I agree.
But Kim Jong-un does not think so, which I understand, but at the same time, it's like, come on, it's James Franco and Seth Rogen. Let's be real here. So I thought that was completely stupid from the beginning. It's like this is ridiculous. So like, why are you getting mad about this? I mean, I'm not going to say this because I don't want anybody like not kicking in my door. But if somebody from Korea made it, some silly comedian from Korea made it, and I don't know if they have those. No, I'm just kidding. That's a terrible joke. But no, like if some terrible comedian from Korea though made a film about assassinating Obama, we would go, that's stupid. Especially, and I'm going to get to my thoughts on the film, especially when it's not even good. So it came out on Christmas, so Sony canceled it. It didn't play in a lot of theaters. It still made $1 million, surprisingly, because it did play at certain theaters, but it was very, very small. But it released online on Xbox Live and on demand, pretty much everywhere. Yahoo, iTunes, everywhere. So you could watch it for like $6. So like a bunch of friends of mine, on Christmas Day, like later that evening, we went and downloaded on my friend's Xbox and watched it, and it's not very good. It's totally fine. Like I understand people are gonna love it, and that's totally fine.
That's cool.
But it's really stupid, and there's no reason to take it seriously. I mean, not that the movie isn't. I mean, I'm just saying, like, Kim Jong Un. Come on, bro. There's no reason to take this movie seriously at all. Come on, brah. No, but no, I mean, it's about 50% funny.
Yeah, agreed.
Particularly the second half. I think the second half is very good.
But it does.
The first half is pretty much. If you've seen the commercial, you've seen the majority, other than the Eminem sequence, which is very funny. And like I've mentioned this to you, I feel like it's a film that was written by Is it Goldberg and Seth Rogen himself? It was
Evan Goldberg and
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
So it was written by them, but I feel like it was written by the production company to a degree.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
You know, there's humor in it that is very good, and it's totally on. But then there's some jokes that I'm like, I don't believe that Seth Rogen thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And it's just there's some slapstick stuff that's not funny, and even like there's a sequence where Seth Rogen. It's a spoiler if you want. Who cares about spoilers in this movie? I mean, the ending of it got released on the internet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Days before. It doesn't matter. But there's a sequence where he has to stick a device up his ass. Seth Rogen, which is fine in concept, but not a funny scene. I don't know what was wrong about it. But it felt like it was almost restrained. Mm-hmm. To a degree that it almost felt like there was a studio kind of going, no, you have to keep this, you can't go overboard.
Which I agree.
Which is what This Is the End was, where it's just straight. It's completely their own thing.
Yeah.
And this was a bigger budget film, and it was a controversial one, and there were a lot of risks involved, and so I feel like there was some studio overhead on this movie, and so there's some jokes that I just feel like aren't funny, and like there's a sequence where James Franco they're testing out. It's in the trailer how he's supposed to give Kim Jong-un a handshake, and he has the device on his hand. It's supposed to stick and rub off on Kim Jong-un and kill him. Yeah. And James Franco sneezes. Like it was this stupid scene where he like walks up to the dude and he is the worst. I mean, it's not funny, and but then you have this really funny stuff.
Then there are some really good things.
It's confusing. Yeah. I mean, the people I was with, like there was there was 5 of us, a couple people that liked it a lot. But then there was something like you could just feel the energy of the room at certain times, just like that's not very funny. It's like kind of half-ass chuckles, like and it was not painful. It's totally a watchable movie. I just don't think it's any good, and there's no reason for anyone to care about this movie.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of like, why are we hacking? And then we hacked their internet, and then they hacked us again. Who cares, guys?
I mean, I know.
Like, it's like a 5-year-old pissing contest. Like this is ridiculous.
And maybe you don't want me to go into, but like real quick, I from day one I knew something was up. I thought it was a hoax. I thought this was just Sony and Franco and Rogen's way of getting people to see the movie, and mission accomplished. I mean, I don't think that movie would have made that money, in theaters that day that much if there wasn't all this hype.
Yeah,
I
think it would have made money. It would have been a successful film, but it wouldn't have been.
I think now it's going to be a little bit more because of the controversy behind it.
Absolutely,
and I mean that day one, you had all that money, like you said, that's only in theaters. You're not even calculating online and all that shit, which I'm pretty sure they made another $1 million or more. Which is fucking ridiculous. I mean, I've never heard of a movie making that much online. I bet you're going to hear that. But again, I mean, it was typical. I mean, you can compare it to remember, these guys produce movies like Adam Sandler used to produce movies.
Yeah.
They do at least 4 a year.
Yeah.
And, they mix each other up. They kind
of like Adam Wingard and all
that.
There's a bunch of buddies getting together
making movies, which is what Adam Sandler used to do. They didn't want to waste all the money. But yeah, you got that, and I mean, like I said, I enjoy them. I
love them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love James Franco's always the wild card, and his genius is kind of abstract. And then you have Seth Rogen, who's always with the same old shtick.
I don't care.
But
he's
always funny. He always makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And like you said, the end of the film is better than the first half. It gets better, but. I don't know. You're right. I mean, I think no one. I don't think
it's nothing in comparison to like 22 Jump Street.
22 Jump Street.
Frank. I mean, I really don't.
Even
think
This Is the End. I mean, that was it. I'd like This Is the End. I mean,
absolutely. So, yeah. So that's kind of. I mean, it's. I think that everyone should go and watch the 30-minute Naked and Afraid episode with James Franco and Seth Rogen. That is 40 times funnier in 30 minutes than this movie is in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I laughed 100 times during that 30-minute span, and it passes the 6 laugh test, I think.
Yeah.
But half. I mean, not half. I mean, it was significantly less in the interview. So yeah, go watch the 30-minute special with those two. It's a much better time.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So moving on, because we're going pretty long. I'm going to briefly talk about Frank and then Blue Ruin real fast. Okay. Blue Ruin, I'll just cover real quickly. It's a small movie that it's a small revenge flick. about a guy. I don't know his name. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. About this dude who is homeless, and he's been homeless for a while. Been kind of living on his own. He has this vehicle. It's a blue car, and he's chilling, just kind of like on sides of the road in random places in the country. And you find out why. He gets pulled over by a cop. Not pulled over, actually. He's sleeping in his car, and the cop comes and taps on his window, and the cop brings him in and basically tells him that the person that murdered his family, his parents, sorry, not his entire family, just his two parents, is out of prison now. And so this sparks him to go and find this guy and kill him. And what it sets up is this terrific movie about violence and what it does to families and what it does to and how it impacts people's lives and it's specifically like I mean you have revenge films all the time about somebody, a close person being killed. I feel like we haven't seen parents as often. I mean, other than freaking Batman, you have like and it was. It's an interesting setup because I don't remember in the film what age his parents were killed. I think he was older because he understood the whole situation. But it really threw him not a bone. I'm not going to use that. It doesn't make any sense. It threw him off though completely, and it impacted like the way that he could interact with people socially, and he was so damaged by this and broken. And one of the posters is his face, and he's made of like china, and it's shattered, and it sets up this brilliant character study about this guy who doesn't really know how to handle this. Not only does he not know how to handle the death of his family, but he doesn't know what to do about this guy. He knows that he hates him. He wants to kill him. He knows that if that happens, lots of bad shit will go down. But he doesn't know how to handle any of that. So it's almost like it's like a fish out of water revenge flick about this guy who has not committed any violent acts in his entire lifespan, but has been dealt this terrible blow, to his life, and it's outstanding. I think the first 20 minutes. It's a really quiet movie. I think throughout most of it, but the first 20 minutes are virtually silent, and then it sets off this kind of spiraling sequence of violence, sequences of violence. And it's really an outstanding little movie. It's a terrific. Macon Blair, I think is how you pronounce the main character, the main actor. Mm-hmm. He is outstanding in this movie. It's not. I don't know that it's like an Oscar-worthy performance because it's not different enough for somebody like the Academy. But there's some like dark humor to it because he's just kind of this normal dude thrown into these terrible circumstances, and I think he's absolutely fantastic, and there's some shocking violence in it, and the way that he handles that, like physically, is really great to watch. And it's, I think, a very good film. I saw it too recently. I didn't want to put it in my top 10 because I wanted to kind of sink in. But I think it's a great little movie. So that's Blue Ruin. You haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. I would absolutely recommend it. I think I selected that as my streaming pick.
Yeah, I saw it as one of the top 10 films you'll never see.
Yeah.
And that's we talked about it. That's how I came.
I don't want to be pretentious about it. No. Yeah. I mean, it's a small little movie. It didn't get any theatrical release. Yeah. I don't know where they shot it. I mean, it's very low budget though, and you just get some good stuff. I mean, that's what independent cinema should be. Just these really great, like it's low budget, but it's one of the best looking movies of the year. It's very well shot. It has this blue aesthetic to the film. It's very chilly, but then also there's like this contrasting orange to all the violent sequences in the film. Like there's a not a home invasion, but there's a kind of there's a sequence like that, and it's totally lit in orange, and it's set at nighttime, and it's gorgeous, and I can't say anything else great about it. I think it's very good. So that's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's a little slow to start, but I think it finishes a 10 out of 10. So that's Blue Ruin, and then Frank. I watched this morning at 3:00. I think something like that. Some ungodly hour, and stars Michael Fassbender, and he played. Well, I guess it really he's not the main character. John is the main character, played by it's the guy who was Bill Weasley in Harry Potter. I think his last name is I don't remember, but yeah. So he plays this character. He's a terrible musician, trying to find inspiration, and like the opening sequence starts with him walking down the street, and he's like humming a tune to the things he's seeing, like "Lady in the Blue Coat." And then he like walks by another lady in the red coat. Gleason. Do you know the lady? Yeah, is it Jack Gleason?
No, Dunbar.
Yeah, I would say I'm not good with names.
Brendan Gleason's son has to be. It looks just like.
Yeah, right.
Go on.
Yeah, I don't know about that. but you know, so he's this he's a keyboardist that's also trying to be a songwriter, and he's not good at it. And it's kind of a running joke in the movie, even though like you could probably watch the film and not get that. He's terrible, and I think it's a dark joke for the whole film, and he never gets better. And basically, he's trying to find inspiration though, and so he one day stumbles upon this man running into the ocean, screaming and being arrested by the police officers, and he's the current piano player, the person that's screaming and yelling in the ocean, for this band whose name is unpronounceable, and in the film they don't know what it's called, and there's several seconds where it's like, so how do we say it again? And that's a running gag in the movie. And so this piano player is running out into the ocean, just he's gone mad, and Scoot McNairy, my man Scoot McNairy,
in this movie.
Yeah, he plays, which is weird because it's kind of it's an Irish film, I think. Yeah. I don't know if you're talking about where it was funded. I don't know. It also takes place in Texas at certain points at South by Southwest, but. So he stumbles upon the Scoot McNairy, who plays the band manager, and he asks him to come play a gig for them. And so John, the main character, goes to play this gig for this random band whose name he does not know, and he shows up, and it's like incoherent nonsense. Like he goes up on stage, and they're just like hitting their instruments like in ways that don't make any sense, and like one of the guitarists is like slamming his guitar neck down on the hi-hat of the drums, and like it's just the worst thing ever. And but then Frank walks on stage, and Frank is Michael Fassbender, but you don't see his face in the film. He's wearing this helmet. It looks like a dude's face. It's really obscure, and he's wearing like a scuba costume, and he starts doing this like really weird dance, and then like saying things like "I want to," and just like really bizarre chants, and it's terrific, and because it's a terrific display of terrible music, and I would compare it to like This Is Spinal Tap, just but in like the like really underground way. Like it's absolutely hilarious. And so basically the band likes him and asks him to come along for this big thing they're doing, is what he calls it. And so he goes with them on a road trip, and he tells the place he works, like, I'll be back next at the end of the weekend. And so he leaves with them, and they get in this van and they drive. And they get there, and Scoot McNairy's like, yeah, this is where you'll be staying, and then this is where, and they're on this like encampment, and there's like multiple different buildings, and he's like, yeah, and so this you'll have plenty of time to explore the whole premises and all. He's basically showing them this huge piece of land that they get to live on, and John is like, how long are we gonna be here? He's like, well, until we're finished with the album. And so John is like, you didn't tell me we were recording an album. And so that's the premise for the film. They start recording this album of incoherent nonsense, and Frank, this character that we know nothing about, he's just this bizarre dude, and he's got really weird ways that he creates music, and he's like a music mastermind. He's like the guy that he'll come in and listen to something and go, oh no, you should do this. And if you watch the trailer, the tone of it is very clear in the trailer, and the movie is very similar. It's bizarre. It's completely original, and it's one of the funniest films I've seen in a long time. It's terrific.
I want to see it.
I think it's one I can recommend to anyone.
It comes out on Netflix.
It's so weird, and just it's small. It's shot well. The performances are great. It's so funny, and I can't get enough of it. So yeah, that's Frank. It also has this running gag about how like all of the keyboardists that have ever been with the band go crazy, very similar to the Spinal Tap. And there's a funeral scene in it that is on par with Lebowski. It's so great. So yeah, go see Frank. I'm all hyped up about it because I saw it today, but it's outstanding.
It's on Netflix next month.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's great. Yeah. I bought it already. It's like $12 on Amazon, so if you can pick it up as well if you want to own it. It's so great. So yeah, we are at an hour and 10 minutes already, and we haven't even really gotten Alexander Payne. We can briefly do that. Let's briefly do Alexander Payne. We're just going to talk about the Descendants and Election. I think both of us like Alexander Payne a lot. I just watched Election today, and you watched the Descendants today as well.
Yes.
So we'll talk about those two. But I do love Nebraska as well. It's another film I'd recommend.
You got me on that one.
It's also on Netflix.
Yes.
But so you love Election.
I do. Well, one of my favorite films of that year. I think it came out in
99.
Yeah. Reese Witherspoon.
Same year as Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. Which
I noticed that and I was like, oh man, what a year for Matthew Broderick.
But remember, Election was well reviewed. I think I nominated for screenplay, whatever.
Yes,
but Elections, it's one of my favorite movies. Reese Witherspoon is just so different.
She's like a mean Leslie Knope. She's just like this really obnoxiously obsessive. She's like all about like
driven.
Yeah, she's just so motivated. She's like that person that you hate in high school that raises their hand and answers your question.
You hate her character.
She's obnoxious, but she's really great.
Well, she is. She's great in that role.
My favorite Reese Witherspoon role so far.
Matthew Broderick is great as the teacher who wants to bring this girl down.
She plays a student in the film that wants to become class president. And Matthew Broderick doesn't really want that because one of his friends slept with her. And which is a terrific sequence. But he's trying to go to all ends to stop her from achieving this award.
And at the end,
and so he basically finds the Steve Holt of this film.
Steve Holt.
And the dumb football player that broke his leg.
Chris Klein.
He's wonderfully dumb in this movie. Matthew Broderick tries to get him to run for president so that he can beat out Reese Witherspoon's character, and it's a blast. This movie's great.
And it's funny because, like I said, if you look at Alexander Payne's oeuvre, he's a very serious director, but he got this Citizen Ruth, which came out a couple of years before.
He's serious, but it's serious, but there's this bedside dark humor to this really dark, it's sarcastically serious. Like all of his films, I feel like it's like he's not making fun of his characters. He really does care about his characters. But there's certain lines because he understands high school problems aren't important, and there's several lines in the film now with Dave out of the picture, I'd grown to see how sensitive she really was. He's talking about the neighbor that he falls in love with. It's just it's so dark, and then there's I'm a single child, so my mom is really devoted to me. I still couldn't. It's with the Steve Holt when he's talking about I couldn't shake the feeling that my life had no purpose because he didn't have football, and it's just Alexander Payne knows. He helped write the script. I don't know if he wrote it entirely himself. I think there's 3 people credited. But he understands that these problems aren't important at all, and that's really funny. It makes it so much funnier. And it's not like I'm a lesbian or anything. This movie is really quotable.
It is quotable, yeah. And it's a good thing. Again, unless you shock me now, it's a Matthew Broderick film that's not a kid film or whatever. Yeah. This is I guess outside
shockingly sexual.
Yeah. Right?
I watched it with my dad, and my sister was in the room too, and there were some. I was like, "Oof!"
Because what else has he done besides the producers, Ferris Bueller, and this? Nothing that I can think of. That's horrible movies, and so it's out of those 3 films, which those are my only films I like of him. Election, of course, is his best. And acting and everything. Even producers, musicals, whatever. And Ferris Bueller, he's great.
Oh, it's true.
The epitome of a character.
That's one of the best. That's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. So but Election's just this different dark film.
It's really weird.
And like I said, the whole politics of it, because later on she also become some political assistant.
Yeah. He throws the milkshake.
And he's a tourist,
genius,
a tour guide or whatever he is. But you got to see you got to see Elections.
If you like high school stuff, I think it gets high school right in like more of an adult way. Like the way that it treats sex and stuff like that. It's more. I think it's more realistic, but it's just a little bit more mature than something like Freaks and Geeks, which is a very great depiction of high school. This is just a different, more from an adult's perspective. On high school. So if you like high school stuff, I'd highly recommend it. I mean, I think it's fun for everyone. My whole family liked it. I mean, it's a very fun movie. It's a little long. That'd be my only complaint if I had to say. Like, if you cut it down like 15 minutes or so, like it could just flow a little better. There's not really a scene that I think is unnecessary. Well, maybe like it could be cut down a little bit. It's still funny though. It's just
it is, but I just why
the movie is a little long.
I think he did it just to make him look. That's
such a minor complaint. I think it's a great film. So
I do.
I'm not going to complain. And so then he went on to do About Schmidt, which was that before or
Sideways?
After? I think About Schmidt was before, or was that after?
Before Election? Sideways? Oh no, About Schmidt's after Election.
Yeah, and then he did Sideways was 2004, so Sideways was after, and then he did. He took a break and then came back with The Descendants, which is the next one we're going to talk about. The Descendants, I think this is one of my favorite films of all time. I love this movie. I think it's a much more mature film in terms of just the way that it deals with subject matter in general. I mean, Election's a lot sillier. It still cares about its characters and everything, but it's taken more seriously into The Descendants. George Clooney stars in the film, basically plays a character whose wife in the opening scene goes into a coma. It has a boating accident, goes into a coma. And he spends the film, he has two daughters. Shailene Woodley is one, we talked about earlier. And then Scotty, I think is the name of the youngest daughter. And so you have multiple generations here too. So you have Scotty's like a 10-year-old girl, and so she's still kind of going, maybe a little older, but she's still going through puberty. She hasn't yet. And so this incident, her mom going into a coma, is very different between her and what Shailene Woodley, how the way that they deal with it. Like Scotty hasn't quite gotten into arguments with her mother. Hasn't she's still innocent, and that's a theme through the film though. There's a lot of lines about how they're trying to protect her innocence throughout this entire film. So George Clooney though, the whole movie, he's kind of been this distant father, and he spends the movie trying to gain the respect back from his daughters. Not so much Scotty, but definitely Shailene Woodley, who has gone off to school and is just kind of wasting her life away. Not because she's going to school, but basically he goes to round her up, bring her back home, and help them kind of deal with this problem. So he while that happens, he finds out that his wife is cheating on him, and this happens like 15 minutes into the movie. And so he finds this out and then wants to go find the guy who she slept with. And so he can't fully deal with this because she's in a coma. So that's the premise for the film. I think it's outstanding. I think it's a huge accomplishment. Just from a screen, it's written by oh my god,
the person who wrote the book.
Yeah, no, not the book. It's written by Nat Faxon and I believe the principal from from Community.
What is it?
Yeah, they won a screenplay. They won Best Oscar.
It says so it's a Nat Faxon, Jim Rash.
Jim Rash, there you go. And, it's Jim Rash and Nat Faxon though wrote it. They co-wrote it together, and they won an Oscar for it. I think it's a really funny. It's darkly funny with that kind of bedside humor, and it's really touching. It's one of the saddest films I feel like maybe it's just because I connected with it. I don't know, but I feel like it works on an emotional level in a way that a lot of movies don't for me. But it also makes you laugh, like the way that George Clooney runs and stuff. It's also silly in that way, but I feel like it's genuinely touching and sad when it needs to be. It's not like it doesn't force you into that. I feel like I mean, obviously it's a movie. It's a subject matter that you get a lot of that. You get a lot of the tearjerkers with this kind of material, so that's expected. But at the same time, I feel like it deserves the tears when they come. And I don't know. So you saw it for the first time today.
I did. Like I said, I mean. Again,
you texted me. I'm going to quote you here. You texted me. It was like, just watch The Descendants. Quote. It was too good. It was a good movie, but there was too much hype. Okay, what does that even mean?
And that means because, like I said, I mean, you're calling it right now one of your favorite movies, a great movie. And like I said, maybe
but it's a small movie.
It's like you said, there was nothing spectacular to it. It's just a well written script.
Yeah.
Well acted. And like I said, I didn't stop. Like I went to the bathroom. I paused it. I mean, normally the movies lag. I let it play and listen, but I paused it. Because I was enjoying. George Clooney's really good in this. Shane Woodley's really good. The little girl's amazing too.
Yeah, she's outstanding. And the dumb friend.
Yeah.
There's some actual depth to that character.
I
love that. Do you get hit a lot, son? Oh, it's so great.
I give him sheriff. And he's great. I mean, this fucking kid, I don't know who he is, but he's like there, and that's it's good, and it makes up for this little movie. It's like the fact that because as I sit there, I'm like, yeah, it was a really good movie, but. And then you if you told me if it was that year, and then you say, "Oh, but it's being nominated for Best Picture," I'd be like, "Really?"
True, and I think that's like a Boyhood. It's like it's a small movie.
Yeah.
It's like, and it shouldn't be up there with Interstellar.
Like you said, you say subtle a few times. It is very subtle, but it's good. That I'm not hating it. I mean, I liked it a lot. I was like, yeah, that was really good.
There's a charm to it, and it's not. It's hard to explain. The movie just kind of it works for you, and it.
Because this whole mystery gets the daughter out of that funk, and she it's like this whole thing is like it's actually a good thing, I mean, you find out your wife's cheating on you, and then you get into the mystery of finding out who it is, and then even the inkling that might the reason we're not giving out spoilers, the relationship might have been leading to this big deal that they're making. I thought that was good, and I like the decision he made at the end of the film, again without any spoilers, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I was like, oh, will I watch it a second time? Maybe. If this all came out, so let me see. If
I would recommend seeing it a second time.
Yeah, and for you, I will, because I know, you loved it. And like I said, if I look at his viewer, like I said, out of all the movies, like I like Citizen Ruth. I didn't love it. I loved Election. And then you got, like I said, you have About Schmidt, very dark, funny film, and that's a film I think forces on you in Sideways. Unfortunately. I mean, I liked some of the story, but it was boring to me.
I have not. I'm not going to claim to have seen
that. And then the Descendants, which I liked. And Nebraska is, I don't want to say in the same vein, because it was kind of slow.
It's less, like, it's less nasty in comparison to something like Election. Where Election is, it cares about its characters, but at the same time, it's also poking fun at them.
Yeah.
Nebraska, I mean, Nebraska genuinely cares.
Yeah.
It's
Will Forte is amazing. Bruce Dern's amazing in the movie.
It's a terrific performance.
Yeah, even like the mother. What's the mother's name again? She's
it's June Squibb plays the mother.
I love her.
All of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, she's just
like that whole bit.
His family, his cousins who are like, well, you couldn't do that, and then the driving time.
Yes,
and it's that I
could do that in 8 hours.
It's quirky.
Yeah.
But again,
my favorite
subtle.
scene in the whole movie though is the scene where they in Nebraska when he walks in. Or I don't remember which character walks in, but they're all sitting in front of a television. He's like, "Hey Tom, what'd you do with that old Ford truck you had? Those are good cars, aren't they?" He's like, it's a room full of like 20 people, and they're all just watching this television. And it's so boring, and that's what's so funny about it. Like it's a movie that kind of understands that Midwestern.
And a good choice. The black and white was also a good choice. I like that he shot it in black and white. Actually,
it's a gorgeous film. Yeah, it really looks great. And the black and white was done very well. And there's kind of a grit to it. It almost looks like it was shot on film. I don't know if it was or not, to be perfectly honest. But it has that aesthetic, regardless of whether or not it was. Very good looking movie. I like Nebraska a lot, but I still think Descendants though is his best movie. I do love Election. It's a great movie. It's very different though. I just feel like I love like the importance of like the family and the history behind the movie. Like there's like the whole Hawaiian culture in the film.
Yeah, that was very interesting too.
And that's really what the movie's about. It's about this. And the movie's called The Descendants. It's about this like in the whole film they're dealing with this piece of property that they're trying to sell or to decide whether or not they want to sell. And it's kind of it's in the background, but it's really it plays an important. It is the story.
Which is interesting because subtly comes back to that at the end.
Yeah,
but
if you watch it a second time, it is sprinkled into the plot a lot more than like the first time I watched it. I recognized it a lot more the second time, and I appreciated that a little bit more because it is kind of an odd. The first time you see it, it's like really we're talking about land in Hawaii. Who cares? But they talk about like the ancestry and like just the importance of like keeping things the way they were, like keeping the land, like not building on the land, like you know, kind of, and there's I love that, like I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm not like by any means somebody that's like I'm not a tree hugger. I'm not somebody that I don't really, but I can appreciate though like that sentiment, that sentimentality towards like this important landmark, you know. And it's a gorgeous film. It's like, you know, it's very colorful and
I'll give you that too. I like the way it was shot.
I love everyone in it so much. And another thing I also love is the depiction of like relationships from multiple different like generations of people. So you have like George Clooney's friends are a little bit younger than him, and you come in and they're bickering, and like every couple that's portrayed in the film, like you walk in on them fighting and almost every. But then you have the grandfather whose wife, it's George Clooney's father-in-law, played by
Robert Forster,
who's great. Yeah, he's great in the film, and his wife is kind of losing it, and she's got Alzheimer's, and and like I love like you get like the different relationships that are impacted by this affair, and also the way that they deal with death, like the different ways that these generations deal with this person who's dying, and I think the father is one that hit me the second time I watched it, way harder than the first time, just because I love how he kind of like passes the blame onto George Clooney. He like blames, you know, it's like he doesn't want to take credit for the fact that it's just something that can happen. And it's really, it's devastating. I feel like there's that's a tiny character in this movie that has so much depth. You know, there's a line where he says, "She was a loving, faithful wife. She deserved better." And he's talking to George Clooney, and
his face,
and then the daughter says something to it. And it's terrific. It's such a great line because. I mean, I don't know. You have this character that's really, I mean, and there's a shot where you just see him like looking over her. George Clooney kind of peeks in, and it's I love it. I love that so much. So I really think this is an outstanding film. And I definitely think it demands a second viewing, even though it's not like not for a plot
I'll watch it again.
But you liked it though.
I did. I did.
I can totally. Every time I watch it, though, I bawl my eyes out. I think this is this is a film that touches me in a way that feels good. No, I'm just kidding. No, and then there's the final shot of the film though, and I'm not going to spoil what that is, but I think it's very poignant, and I think it's one of these. It's this great Alexander Payne shot that just it establishes all of your characters and it concludes them without them doing anything, and it's terrific.
Interesting,
I mean, I just think that last shot is what made me go, I love this movie. Like, and the first time at least I watched it, and I mean, it's really a piece of work. It's a piece of art. So that's Alexander Payne. The Descendants is my favorite of his, but I would fully recommend pretty much any. Maybe other than Sideways is one that some people go halfsies on.
Sideways on.
Yeah, right. But Nebraska is on Netflix. If you're a fan of Alexander Payne, you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend it. It's slow, but it's there's a lot.
I mean,
there's a lot of
and you've never seen About Schmidt, and I think that's the thing. I would like for you to see it. I mean, it's an ugly film, and I think that's what everyone loved about it back then. You know, again, and there's not a big spoiler. Kathy Bates and Jack Nicholson getting naked in the tub together, and then whatever. And I mean, that was the biggest controversy. Everyone talked about that scene.
Got nothing on Nick Cage and Meryl Streep in the adaptation.
Oh man,
that's the one that leaves me like it gives me nightmares.
But it's Charlie Kaufman, older brother.
I don't know.
You don't remember which one?
Wait, two?
No, adaptation. Was he his brother Charlie Kaufman, or he was the other one?
Oh, I don't remember which brother it was. Well, it's the main character. So it's Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a brilliant movie too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go back to what you're saying about.
But I'm saying, I think that's the thing. It's an ugly film, and nothing really comes. I mean, I think Jack Nicholson was just being more of a. What's the movie that won all the As Good as It Gets? Yeah. So it was just a character like the extreme of that character, and I mean it was kind of slow. There are parts people love, but I don't know. And again, it's about a guy trying to find himself, and I don't know. I think, but I think we hit them all. I think again, Election,
Nebraska.
Descendants, and Nebraska are his best films. The other ones,
About Schmidt
About Schmidt and Sideways are. I mean, again, you'll be bored to death with Sideways. I mean, unless you're into wine drinking, but other than that, that's it. I mean,
so that is Alexander Payne.
Max Payne.
Yeah, no, that's Alexander Payne. He's our director for the week, and next week will be. I'm gonna say Ben Wheatley, but we'll see.
Because
you have to also watch his movies for us to do that. So maybe we'll do 2 weeks from now. I've given you them. He'll be our director next week.
Your next few episodes.
That's
cool. Just tell me what else. What will we be doing next week then?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, so next week's a big surprise. New Year's surprise.
Our director of the week will be a surprise. I always have to pick something that both of us have seen at least the majority of the work.
The work.
So we'll see. But we're gonna do our Netflix picks real quick. I guess I recommend Blue Ruin would be mine.
Yeah, you said that.
Did you pick one?
Oh, I picked Salinger. It's a documentary. Which talks about but with. Okay, so it's serious. I mean, it's very good. It came out last year. It's on Netflix now. And it has a lot of big time movie stars talking about how it influenced, how Salinger, Catcher in the Rye, influenced them in their work, and so it's good to see like Philip Seymour Hoffman, Judd Apatow talking about Salinger out of all people. Because I mean, like I said, maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman, but not Judd Apatow. And they discuss the author and they discuss the works, and it's really good. You should see it. It's kind of long, but it's on Netflix. Yeah,
cool.
So like I said, and it's just it gets mostly like Hollywood's version, like Edward Norton's in it, it's good. I enjoyed it. I'm into documentaries, and I thought it was really good, and it gives you back some goes again about Catcher in the Rye, which is one of my favorite books. So that's my Netflix pick of the week.
All right, so we got Blue Ruin. Our Netflix picks are Blue Ruin, which is mine, and then Salinger, which is documentary. It's on Netflix. So both of those are on there. Go check them out. And we're not going to get to television today. I did catch up on Arrested Development, or not Arrested Development. I've seen every episode. I'm the biggest Arrested Development fan. No, I'm talking about I caught up on American Horror Story and finished The Affair as well. Terrific stuff.
And I know you love
all go see them. Well, we don't have enough time to go into television in detail, so I'm just going to move on. Basically, we're going to wrap it up. If you guys, if you would do us a huge favor and go and like us on iTunes and subscribe and download our stuff and listen to it and go on there and comment, it's important. It helps us get views on
definitely
iTunes. It helps rank us higher so that people will actually pay any attention. So if you guys would go on there and comment and let us know what you think, let us know if you want any changes. I mean, I would do that in the comment section on our website rather than on iTunes. On iTunes, leave us a nice one. Nice 5-star review.
Comment.
But please, on my website, jeremymknight.com/podcast is where the podcast is located. Go on there, comment, let us know what you think. Let us know what director would you like for us to talk about. What movies you want us to see, whatnot, and we will try and make that happen. So that's today's Indecisive Cinema. I'm Jeremy Knight,
and I'm Carlos Hernandez. You guys have a great New Year. We'll see you in 2015 with all good things.
Hopefully.
Amen.
All right.